Hey guys, what's up? It's Mikey. We're going to be making a song from beginning to end, starting with the beat, then going to writing and recording vocals, and then ending with mixing and mastering. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to start with the main lead melody. It's this guitar loop that I found right here. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, so yeah, you guys get the idea. That's what it sounds like. This is going to be in G minor, and I already added some extra processing to it. I did some EQ, I added some reverb. I went ahead and committed to those effects already. So yeah, that's that. And then also what we are going to do is have different layers. So we're going to have a guitar, we're going to have some background pads, piano, little plucks, and even a vocal sample. That way we can use those to create dynamics throughout the song from beginning to end. There can be parts where it's just the guitar, and there can be parts where it's all of those melodic things going on at once. That way we can kind of just keep it interesting. So we also have these keys right here. Just same chords following that guitar strumming pattern. We have this pad right here. And then we have this pluck. And a lower version of that pluck. Then we got some vocal chops. So altogether, those melodies sound like this. Now, like I said, there's going to be times where it's just going to be the guitar. There's going to be times where it's just the piano. And there's going to be times where it's all of them together. We're going to be using that later on down the road when we're structuring out the whole beat to kind of give it some more dynamic. So let's move on to drums and bass. Super simple. If you're using Ableton, then you can see I'm using a drum rack right here. It's just one single drum rack with all my drum sounds. Kick, kick, clap, snare. What do we got here? Closed hi-hat and crash. And all these together, I programmed some drums right here in the MIDI section. Those are the drums. For the bass, we're using an 808 right here, and this is the bass line right here. For the 808, I don't have a lot of processing on it. The biggest thing I have is I took out a little bit out of 145 because I don't like that frequency in a lot of my 808s personally. But I don't have a lot of crazy effects on the 808. I really just spent a lot of time finding and choosing the right one that sounds good already from the jump. And it worked out really well. Okay, so next we're going to move on to effects. Okay, so for effects, when I say effects, I'm talking about like transitional effects, risers, crashes, and you'll see exactly what I mean here. So when we go from intro to verse to chorus, I like to add effects to kind of help the listener's ears move from one section to the other. So for example, we have something like this. Check this out. So you can kind of hear like a rattle coming and then boom, impact. So that's like one effect here. Here's another one. Cool. Here's another one. Here's like a reverse cymbal. here's this one. Some white noise. So all together, those sound like this. And these are really going to help with, like I said, transitioning from one section to another. It kind of gets rid of any jarring feeling of going from intro to chorus or chorus to verse. Using these effects to your advantage to help move from one destination to another is really going to make things a lot more interesting and a lot more fluid and smooth. Okay, so once you have all the beat idea laid out like we have here, we got the melody, we got the drums, the bass, the effects, we can move on to structuring it. So what I have structured is an intro, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a second verse, final chorus, and an outro. Really simple, really standard, really basic. There's a lot of different ways you can structure a song. There's a lot of popular ways that a lot of people like to do it. This is just how I happen to do it for this one. This is what I felt fit the track the most for what I was kind of going for. And it's a good basis to start if you're just getting into writing songs or producing. It's a good place to start with just intro, chorus, verse, chorus, intro, chorus, outro. So yeah, that's what we have here. So the important part when you're structuring things out is to use what you have made already to your advantage. So that guitar melody that we had, let me play it real quick. I went ahead and took that, I put a EQ filter on it, and I pitched it down a whole octave, and I used that as the intro. Then when it transitions, you'll hear when it goes back to the regular octave.
Was it on the beat?
So yeah, it builds a lot more anticipation, and like I said, it gives it that dynamic of moving from one place to the next. And then in the intro part, I have things like the pads that I had made, but an octave lower. I have I have these vocal chops that we had made, but instead I reversed them. So yeah, you can really kind of see now we're at that phase where we're just taking all of our color palettes and we're just kind of using them to paint the picture. And just adding in details here, taking things away here, adding things in. One thing that a lot of people, including myself, struggle with when we first start making beats and stuff is we want everything going on all the time. But the only downside to that is the more that you have going on a consistent level, the less that it feels like it's moving, like it's changing. You don't want the beat or the song to feel like it's just one flat straight line. You want it to go down in energy. That way, when it goes high energy again, it really feels like it's being dramatized in a way. As if you were to stay flat line and go up, sure, the energy rises, but only this much. Where if we were to bring it all the way down and then bring it back up for a climax, the way it builds up is a lot more satisfying, and the energy is a lot more impacting. Okay, so next we're going to move on to vocals. Really what I want to show you guys is my vocal processing effects. I always start out with just some regular EQ and compression just when I'm tracking. And I have a vocal chain that is my default vocal chain. Every time I open up a project, it's already loaded in. If I go to someone else's spot, so let's say I go to Chris's spot, the Red Ranger, let's say I go to his spot and we're going to record and he's using Ableton too, then I'll bring my hard drive and we'll just drag and drop a copy of this vocal chain that I made with just simple EQ and compression and stuff like that, a little bit of multi-band compression, and it's a great starting point. It sounds awesome. If you guys have Ableton and you guys want a copy of this, just let me know and I'll send it to you for free. I know it'll really help you guys out. It really saves me a lot of time. So yeah, I use some simple EQ and compression. For my EQ and compression and all that stuff, I use stock Ableton plugins. If you don't need to have the fanciest plugins to mix your vocals to sound decent. For the reverb and delay, for the reverb, I'm using the Valhalla Vintage Verb. Sounds great, really easy to use. It doesn't take very long to tweak it and get an awesome sound out of it. For the delay, I'm using Echo Boy from Sound Toys. Another great plugin, sounds awesome, really easy to use, really versatile. And the last third-party plugin I'm using for my vocals is Auto-Tune 8.1. This is one of my favorite Auto-Tune plugins, and it gets the job done for what I need necessary. So, yeah. One part about vocals that is really important to me when tracking and just laying down the ideas is understanding dynamics. For me, there's usually, in most common songs that I'm working on, there's usually 3 different kinds of vocals. There's the lead vocal. That's going to be the one that's very upfront, very right in your face, like crystal clear. There's going to be backup vocals. Those won't be as loud. Those won't be as upfront. They're backing up the lead vocal. And behind the backup vocal is going to be background vocals. So these are going to be vocals that are super filtered, super washed out with effects, very distant sounding. But what's great about all 3 of these is that they all come together to make a soundscape. So instead of everything being up front, everything being loud, all the ad-libs, all the background vocals, instead of everything being right up in your face, we're creating dynamic by saying, hey, you're going to go here, you're going to go here, you're going to go here, and it opens up a giant soundscape for our ears when we're listening. It creates a lot more dynamic, and those dynamics keep the listener interested, definitely. Like I said, we're trying to avoid everything being flat. We're trying to avoid things being uninteresting. And nowadays, most listeners, including myself, our attention spans are a little shorter when listening to music. So it could take 5 seconds for someone to lose interest in a song. So it's really our job as producers and songwriters to keep the listener interested and on a ride that they don't want to leave, a ride that they really enjoy. So for example, for the intro, these are more these are more background vocals. They're super washed out with effects, and they're like EQ filters, so they sound a lot more distant. Check it out. And when it goes to the chorus, you'll hear that the vocals up front. So here we go. A lot more background. And that chorus.
All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich, rich. All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich, rich. Said all my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich, rich.
So yeah, like I said, main chorus, we have the lead vocal that's really leading us, and then in the chorus we also have ad-libs. So check this out. You kind of hear the ad-libs a lot more distant. Here we go.
All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich, rich. All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel.
So yeah, then let's skip to verse 2 real quick, and here's another example of having those dynamic where we have a lead vocal, a backup vocal, and super background vocal. Check this out.
Yo, my pockets that broke and my soul stay rich. And I ain't really have my pockets that broke and my soul stay rich. It's a broke boy anthem.
So you can kind of hear the dynamic there, and if we listen to the backup one, if we check out what the EQ is doing, this is just a regular EQ filter, cutting out a lot of the low to mid, and even cutting out a lot of highs, and it's giving that kind of telephone sound, that kind of cheap radio sound. That's really the main difference between the effects that are on both of these. And now let's check out some backing vocals. So for example, we have the chorus. I'll just solo out the chorus.
All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich.
Right behind it, I have a vocal with same melody, same cadence, same everything. The only difference is I recorded a separate take of it, and I put a very short delay of I think it was ping pong delay of 17 milliseconds on the left and about 35 milliseconds on the right. And basically what that's doing is it's giving it this kind of stereo widening effect to the background vocal only. So check that out. Here it is.
All my pockets dead broke, but my soul feel rich, rich.
So that's backing it up behind the main vocal. That way the main vocal still has that full driving punch to it, that fullness to it, but the backup vocal is actually adding more that stereo depth and width, without having to use the main vocal to tamper with, without sacrificing that fullness of the main lead vocal. So yeah, that's the vocals right there. Okay, so next we're going to move on to mixing. I could talk about mixing forever, but I won't do that in this video. That can be for another video if you guys want to know more about the mixing stuff. But really, it's get your levels right, get your EQ right, get your compression right, and those are like your bread and butter of getting a good mix. Get your reverb and your delay and all that stuff set. Don't have it too loud, don't have it too quiet. Get it to what you want it to taste, and use a reference track. Use reference tracks to kind of say, hey, this is kind of the sound I'm going for. Compare it, ABM, and also check out how your mix sounds, not just in your studio space, but also out of different speakers. How do they sound in earbuds, headphones, different brands, phone speakers, car speakers. So I like to go check it out in the car. That's like my favorite spot to go kind of see and really tell if the mix is banging or not. So let's go check it out right now. So when you're checking your mix back on different speakers and headphones and earbuds, take notes of what you hear. So what I like to do is, if I'm in the car, it's my favorite spot to check my mixes. I'll have my notes open, and as I'm listening, I'm just jotting things down. Bass is too loud, not enough reverb. This part of the vocal at 1 minute and 28 seconds is too harsh on the ears. Volume isn't loud enough of the overall song. Write down these notes, that way when you go back in, because you're not going to remember all of them. Write down these notes, that way when you go back in, you kind of go boom, boom, boom off the checklist. Come back, check the song again, see how it sounds, and keep going from there until you have a mix that you're really, really proud of and you're really, really satisfied with. So that's like my entire production process, starting with the beat, moving on to vocals, and ending with mixing and mastering. But that's not the end. The song still has to have an artwork being made for it, which I usually make myself. It still has to be uploaded so it can be put on all the streaming platforms, which usually takes about 3 to 5 days. Then it has to be promoted online. So this is only half the battle. If you guys want to see a video of me doing all that stuff too, then let me know. I'd love to show you guys that. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to see some more content like this.